Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad to hear this morning coming out of Studio B because we have a very special guest, and we'll be with him in just a minute after we get through with our weather, which is really nice and great outdoor weather. High today 72, low 54. It sounds like late fall, doesn't it? Water temperature now dropped down to 72. So to me now, that's starting that little movement where we're getting that little cool, really that trend is starting going down right now. The river reading brought to us by Mountain Dew. Get out and do. The Apalachicola Bluntstown is at a even 8 foot, real steady. Not much movement at all. The river's going to be good this weekend. The Choctaw at Caryville is reading 4.6. Not going up or down, just staying nice and level. Both rivers looking the same way this weekend, so if you get a chance, plan to get on the river some because it's going to be some good fishing. Tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. Looking at great tides again. We talked about the low tide this morning right at 10:30, and then it's coming in all afternoon. It's going to be about 11:36 tonight when we get a high tide. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back with our special guest. Welcome back, and look at our guest this morning, Stan Kirkland. Glad to have you.
Winston, glad to be here. I COVID or no COVID, I'm gonna shake your hand.
All right, you're COVID free. Okay, what about what you been up to?
Winston, I've enjoyed retirement immensely. And before I get into that, I want to say something. Every time I go to Sneed's, where my mom still lives, or Chipley or Bonifay, people always ask me about you and the show. And
nice.
you've got loyal followers. You may not hear from them often, but you do.
Well,
so
thank you.
I just wanted to throw that in there.
They asked me the same thing. They said, "Where's Stan Kirkland?" I said, "He's not out of jail yet, but next time he gets out, we'll put him back on the show." So,
but you got people that follow you, watch your show, and so I wanted to tell you that. But
thank you very much.
But anyway, I've really enjoyed retirement. I can, I don't have to have anybody to cover for me when I'm out of the office. So I can go, Mom lives up in Jackson County. She'll be 94 in January. So I go up and about once a week I go up and, or once every 2 weeks, I'll go up and she's got 2 acres, so I'll cut the place and plant trees or do whatever. And there's been a lot to do since Hurricane Michael.
Yeah.
She lost a lot of trees.
Yeah, you tell me, I came within 10 miles of her house or something up there.
Sure did, and in fact, I had just had a pole barn put up on her property, and I just kind of hated to see what happened, but she didn't lose some guys out of Bonifay did it for her, and they did a wonderful, wonderful job. It was like 130, 140 miles an hour by the time it got inland.
I know, it stayed that way. That's what's amazing.
It was awful. But,
okay, now you, Stan is really good on talking about trees and all. He brought Jeff and I both a bag of lemons, so I'm gonna get Gail to make me a lemon pie or something.
There you go.
But we love the lemons. They're just good homegrown lemons.
Right.
And you've had great luck with your fruit trees over the years.
Sure do. You know, I used to get my stuff that I sprayed them with from Sandy's Seed and Feed here, and of course her place was closed due to the storm. But there's a few things you have to do living here, I guess, on the coast. But when you get inland, it gets so cold you can't have them. So we're fortunate that we can have lemon trees here and oranges and satsumas and things here. I think you can have satsumas inland, but you kind of have to, and grapefruit, I enjoy fooling with them and having a few trees, in the yard and that sort of thing. So, but you can produce a lot more fruit than you can use. Actually, I picked all my lemons, and I didn't do it last year, but 2 years ago I sold $60 worth to one business, and they gave me like 35 cents a lemon. And my kids were embarrassed. They said, "Dad, you're turning into your father."
Entrepreneurship. There you go. And my kumquat tree is just loaded with it. They're falling off.
That's great.
And It's fun just doing that. You think about the old timers; they did it out of necessity,
Right.
And they had all kinds of trees, pecan trees.
Sure,
And,
that's right.
All kinds of trees and all. Okay, let's get to how. I know you've had a good summer. We're in fall now. You had late summer and early fall fishing. You had some good fishing, didn't you?
Winston, I love to fish, and I often say that these bait and tackle places would go out of business if they depended on me, because I don't buy a lot of stuff. I mean, I need a rod and reel, and actually I brought my rig. This is all I use, and it is the most simple thing in the world. It is a hook, a little leaded hook. Got a little lead and a swivel, and of course this goes to your terminal tackle. But I'll catch. And by the way, you can tell I've caught fish on that one. You see how it's bent, and I've tried to bend it back. I'm so frugal. I bend them back and use them. I don't throw them away if I catch something on them one time. But I take a cast net and I watch my tides first. And anybody that loves to fish in the coastal area for your inland species or your coastal species like trout and redfish and flounder, you need to watch your tides. And if you watch your tides, you always want to try to fish the last few hours before a full tide, or either catch it on a full tide and fish those couple of 3 or 4 hours from a full tide going toward a low tide. But if it's a low tide, stay at the house. Find something else to do, because now redfish will bite on a low tide, but that's about it.
That's a good point there.
But I love fish. I take my cast net, catch my bait. I got a live bait bucket I drag behind me, and and then you just work those flats. I've caught fish off Beach Drive.
Yeah. Last
year I went down on Beach Drive and I caught a real nice mangrove snapper, a big flounder, and I caught one redfish. I had kind of a mixed bag.
You did.
But you can go anywhere and fish like that.
When you throw your cast net, what kind of bait are you catching usually?
Well, I try to catch bull minnows, but they're not always available. It depends on the kind of habitat you've got on the shoreline and places where people build seawalls and all of that. You won't typically get bull minnows. You've got to have that right mix of sand and sometimes grass. And now up here in North Bay, or up in North Bay, you probably could catch them. But finger mullet are really good, but you need a heavier hook than this one, a heavier lead, because finger mullet like to swim up in the column. And so when you hook them, with this little light rig, instead of going to the bottom, what you want it to, finger mullet will leave with it. And next thing you know, it'll be 40 yards where you don't want it. And so you're constantly fighting them. Yeah. Anyway.
When you hook your bait fish, I always ask this question. I always get different answers, but a lot of them, you hook them in the tail or in the lip?
No, hook them through the lip. I come under the chin and hook them through the lip, and that way they look more natural. You can do it the other way, but you
do yours.
Yeah, but it works, and so anyway.
All right. That's some great fishing tips right there. So y'all write that down, and let's take a break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. And here with Stan Kirkland. We've been talking about fishing, and I just love having Stan on the show. He spent a lifetime in the outdoors. How many years with FWC?
38 and a half with FWC, GFC, FWC, and I had 3 more years that I spent working with the state in various capacities. So I had 41 and a half years when I retired.
You need to write your memoirs and all. You need to sit down and write them.
I had some most interesting things happen to me. I can't even begin to tell you things that happened. You wouldn't believe it.
Well, I know it. I've read a couple of what are called game warden memoirs, and I love them. Bob Douglas told me some stories back when he was MP. Anyway, it's different.
Right.
And it's real life situations.
That's exactly right.
And so we need to do that. Okay, now let's talk about deer.
Well, yeah, I don't want to get into. I'm retired now, and I don't want to get into FWC's business, but
somebody needs to. But go ahead. That's okay.
but they now have a logging program where you log your deer, report your deer that are killed, and you're limited to 5 deer a year. You're limited to either 5 bucks, or you could kill 4 bucks and 1 doe, or 3 bucks and 2 does, but the limit is 2 does. So if you've got an either sex season, you'd be limited to 2 does, but you have to report them. And this is one of the report forms, but you got a number, you call, and I would encourage anybody to go online to the FWC website, and you can get the number for reporting them. I think you have 24 hours to report them. And I believe they've got an app you can download, and they tell you how to do it. But that's a little beyond me.
That's coming from someone with 41 years with the Game and Fish Commission.
Well,
basically.
no, I should know how to do it. But
I know, but
anyway, whatever. I'm going to call mine in and report them. So anyway, that's the way I'm going to do it. But you're supposed to.
Most people are doing that.
Yeah, most people are doing that.
Now you're a certified scorer.
Yeah, I still score deer for people for Boone and Crockett, Pope and Young. In fact, in 1985, now I'm going back, there are people out there watching you that weren't even born then. In 1985, I had the opportunity to attend a class in Tallahassee. It was a 40-hour class. We went Monday through Friday. And the representative from Boone and Crockett, a guy named Jack Renault, and he's still a good friend. Jack just retired, I think 2 years ago from Boone and Crockett. He came down and put on a special course for everybody that wanted to become certified scorers. And there was about 30 or 35 of us. And I was asked why I did it. And I said, well, I worked in the regional office here in Panama City. People wanted somebody that they could get to. We don't charge for it. And so it was just a great thing. And I always appreciated the Game and Fish, it was then, later Fish and Wildlife, but I always appreciated them letting me attend that. And some of the most interesting things happened over the years. In fact, I just scored a deer for a guy that's been on your show. He's a guest of yours, Mike Edwards.
Mike Edwards, great hunter.
And fisherman too.
Yes, he's a great outdoorsman.
He is a good outdoorsman.
He's the one to make these fishing lures I show, I've showed you some.
Oh, he makes incredible lures.
Beautiful. I won't fish. He gets mad because I won't fish with him. I just display them, but I won't have to fish with them.
I've got one of his lures, and I'm afraid to use it.
That's what I am. It's too
but
pretty.
He said they're for using, but Mike had killed a real nice deer last year, and I scored it. But I had some of the most of the people that you measure their deer or their whether it's a typical or non-typical, or it could be an elk, it could be a bear, a cougar, it could be any. There's over 30 species that you potentially can measure for people. And most of them just want you to measure them, and they want to tell you their story. They want to relive that moment, so to speak. But occasionally you get some characters. And I mean characters. I had one guy that brought me a bear skull, and I met him actually at a Bass Pro Shop. I was headed to Pensacola, and he was out of Pensacola, but he said, I'm going to be gone from the office, but I'll meet you. So I met him halfway at Bass Pro, and I scored this bear. It was an enormous bear skull. And it was just a plain skull. It was a black bear. And turns out, I asked him, the first question I always ask everybody, was this killed legally? Well, I don't give them a lie detector test. I mean, I just ask them. And if they tell me it was killed legally, then we go forward. If it wasn't killed legally, I don't want anything to do with it. And because if it's big enough, it'll be listed later, and you can go on and see who killed the biggest for that year and that sort of thing.
Right.
So I scored this guy's bear for him. Well, about 7, and it was listed in Pope and Young because he killed it with a bow and arrow. So it was huge bear skull. You only take 2 measurements. You take the width of the skull and you take the length from the back of the skull to the nose. That's all the measures you take in a bear skull. But anyway, 6 months, 7 months later, I get a call from him, and he asked me if I had turned him in. And I said, who is this? And he told me his name. And I said, are you telling me that you killed this bear illegally? And he said, so you didn't turn me in? I said, I don't know anything to turn you in about. I said, right. you were honest with me, I thought. And he hung up the phone. Well, I had his number, and I called, and it turns out that he was a subject of a investigation, and he had been to Montana and hired a guide, and the guide took him illegally into Canada, and he killed this bear in Canada, ferried it back to Montana, and then came back, and then he asked me to measure it, and anyway. Wow. And then I get a call from the investigator wanting to know what my part was. And I said, hold on a minute. I said, I don't have a part. I said, all I did was measure the guy's bear skull, and he told me he took it legally. And they said, well, the guide who was doing this, and he had done it for a lot of people, had a book, and he had everybody's name, info, and what was funny was the investigator told me they had asked this guy, what did you pay for your trip? And his response was, I'll never forget this, he said, I don't know, I paid in cash and I can't remember it anymore. That's funny. Oh, it was hilarious. But so then I have to get in touch with Pope and Young, and they removed it and sent him a letter and said, nah, this won't work. But anyway, that was just one.
Good story.
It's a true story, yes. And anyway.
Okay, all right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back in the final segment. Welcome back. Glad y'all with us this morning. Having a good time here with Stan Kirkland. And he's a true stories he's telling. He's got a lot more. We don't have time to get to all of them. Look at our fishing game times. They brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers down in Port St. Joe. The time we're looking at 2:33 to 4:33 this morning, and 3:01 to 5:01. And we're talking about times. That sort of coincides with what you said about the tides before and after.
Right.
You're a believer in these times, aren't you?
The best thing you can do is do exactly what you're talking about. Is listen to the tides. Either go online. I get the Panama City News Herald every day, and I love to cut out the tides. My neighbors hate it because I give them the paper, and they read the paper. They got a big cutout place in the paper. But you can, you need to stay up with those tides. Right. And then the other thing is your wind. I know you talk about the wind on here, but if you're fishing here on the coast and the wind's out of the south, you might want to stay at home or go to a movie or do something. But I prefer a real light wind, you know, but if it's very strong, I don't even attempt to go.
Yeah, you brought up a great point. That's why we do the winds and the tides every day, because it's so important.
It is very important.
Old timers believe in it too. They big time.
And it's important too on these creeks. If you fish these tidal creeks and rivers, the lower Apalachicola River, lower Chattahoochee River, the tides have an influence on the rivers and fish biting. So you kind of need to stay up with that. And you know, some people go just when they can, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, listen, speaking of creeks now, you were at Holmes Creek the other day.
I went up to Holmes Creek last week. I hadn't fished Holmes Creek in years and years, and I don't even know the name of the landing, but it's 3 miles, I don't mind saying this, but it's 3 miles southwest of Vernon. You go down 79 toward Ebro, and there's a little ramp back in there, and I went up the creek about, I don't know, half a mile, and the water couldn't be any prettier. There was nobody on the creek that day, not a person fishing, and I caught a shell cracker that probably weighed over a pound. I caught him on a light reel. I like to pull the reel out of my hand, and then I caught several brim. I caught a nice bass, and anyway, caught some. I had plenty of fish. In just about 2 hours, I had all the fish I wanted. Met some real nice guys. They came down and spoke to me when I left. So anyway, it was good though. I'm going back.
Isn't that cool if we could get out on the creek here in the Panhandle and nobody out there and then catch fish like that? That's special, isn't it?
In the county, I think the county commission does a real good job there in maintaining that ramp area, the parking area. It's really nice. You can, it couldn't have been any nicer. Nice ramp there in the creek.
And what do you use for bait in a creek like that? What do you try to do?
Well, I get crickets and worms, but
and crickets.
Scott Lindsay taught me one thing though, and one thing that you need to really pay attention to. When you go to a place like that and you buy crickets, never ever use a thermocell, because you know a lot of people use these thermocells to keep mosquitoes, and it's getting cool enough now. We're probably not gonna have to worry about mosquitoes, but it was a little warmer that day. But I had to use some other stuff because the thermocell will actually kill your crickets in a bucket, in these cages. It'll kill every one of them. That permethrin that's put off by that.
And life is too short to fish with a dead cricket. So
I agree.
That's on a bumper sticker. I got to get that somewhere and put it on the wall.
Yeah, life's too short to fish with dead.
We got about a minute left. What you got coming up? Got Thanksgiving next week and all. We got all kinds of big things.
Going on this weekend. I'm going on a either sex deer hunt. Family members got some property over east of 319 over in Wakulla County, so I'm going over there. I was out shooting my muzzleloader yesterday. I'm gonna just use my muzzleloader, and I'm looking forward to that. So
cool.
Anyway,
that'll be a fun
and Thanksgiving, like you say.
And y'all will be eating a lot of food at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I've got family. We're gonna try to be. My wife's mom is 90, so we're gonna go over and be with her.
Good.
Over in Mobile, and I'll see my mom too over Thanksgiving. I'm sure. So anyway. But looking forward to that.
Life has been good.
Are y'all going to go out of town?
We got all kind of things. Actually, we're going to be here for Thanksgiving, but we're going. I got 3 or 4 things coming up. I've got a Georgia deer hunt. We're going to fish Apalachicola Bay, so we got to get out of here though. Thank y'all so much for watching Panhandle Outdoors. Appreciate the viewership. Do something good for your fellow man. Thank you, Stan.
Thank you, Winston.
Good to see you.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.